Well, welcome to our Bible session. I hope all is doing well. Continue praying for our world and the things that needs to be lifted up, people, churches, and of course, always thank God for the good things He's done in your life. Now, this is about mistakes. There's 5 mistakes that people can make. Now, I know sometimes people don't go out deliberately to try to do those, but we do them and we still need to ask for forgiveness. Galatians 6:3 says, if anyone thinks they are something when they are not, they deceive themselves. Today we live in a world where people think they are the most important of all of it. They are the ones, when in fact they really are not the ones. But they like to think that. It's the pride, putting my I first and everything. So we're going to look at 5 different mistakes here that people make that we need to think about because we could be making some of them. The first one is thinking too highly of ourselves. You see, pride blinds the truth. Social media is a kind of setup and culture that fuels the self-importance. We need to understand that we are not the most important thing that there is, that God is. See, the reality check is that we need to stay humble before God. And to stay humble before Him is not to let pride take over our lives and dictate what we do. Pride is the kind of thing that can make you feel like nobody knows anything, not even God. You know everything. You think too highly of yourself, like, I have all the answers. If you want to know anything, come to me because I can give you the correct answer. That's not what God is expecting you and I to do. The second thing is mistake living for applause instead of purpose. You see, in today's world, people are validation driven. It's likes and followers. Validation is something where they receive praise for doing something, or they have high numbers of people that like to follow them because they say they're the best at everything and they have all the solutions and that sort of thing. God calls us to faithfulness, not to fame. Fame, it gets us nowhere. So the question would be, who are you trying to impress? Are you trying to put yourself in a position that God says He is my child? Or are you living for the world where the world says that's the kind of person that we need to run so and so, or put in front of everything, maybe keynote speaker or something? That's not going to get you anywhere. And then the third mistake is ignoring self-examination. You know yourself more than anybody does. Self-examination is the kind of thing that you and I know whether we're doing what God has called us to do or not. So we need to self-examine ourselves, to take a look at ourselves. What are we doing? You see, we need to compare outwardly, not inwardly. What does people see in you? What would people say that they've seen you do, or how would they describe you because of your actions? Business replaced reflection. Everybody today is too busy. That's why our church buildings are not full. They're too busy. You see, they work all week, and then they spend maybe Saturday around the home working, and then Sunday's their day to play. And they don't see that it's necessary for them to go to church. They feel like, I need to go to the lake. I need some time away. I need to get off. So what is it that is taking our time and making us so busy? A guy that bought a car place, he was working on cars. He was working for the other people, and he was really good at it, and he prayed that one day God would bless him, and God did, and gave him his own business. And then all of a sudden he quit coming to church and worship service, and come to find out he was opening his business 7 days a week. Now think about this. His business, he could have always said no, but he didn't. So now all of a sudden he's working 7 days a week, and guess what? He doesn't do anymore. He doesn't go to church anymore. Business will cost us an eternity. Our daily check is, we need to ask ourselves, are we growing spiritually? And then fourth mistake is deceiving ourselves spiritually, thinking I'm good without any fruit. If there's no fruit being produced in your life, then you can't say that you're a Christian. You can't say that I'm that good, that I'm devoted, I'm faithful. Because if you are, you will produce fruit. Culture normalizes shallow faith. And that's what this culture wants to do. They want you to put everything in front, and that's how Satan does it to doubt. They want you to put everything in front of your Christian life. Truth requires honesty and not comfort. We need to keep that in mind because that is very true. And then fifth one is mistake, forgetting dependence on God. Self-reliance is celebrated today. That's what everything that you see on advertisement is all about, how you can improve you and you can do better. You become a leader. If you even notice that when they come out with a new product, I've noticed it in drugs, the person that takes it is usually one that's sort of shy behind the scenes. But all of a sudden, when they take this medication, they excel at everything. They're the keynote speaker. They lead the races. They do everything. You know, they make the pills sound like if you take it, it not only will solve your problem, but it will make you the person in the spotlight. False advertisement. But spiritual strength comes from surrender. We need to surrender to God to receive that power and that strength He gives us. And without God, we misjudge ourselves. I'm telling you, we will do things and look at us and make ourselves better. But when we put God first in our lives, God helps us to understand we are not the center of attraction of everything. That we're His child, but we're important. We're valued, but we are not as you say, the leader of the group. And then as I close this, think about that. The greatest deception is self-deception. And you leading yourself down the wrong way. We need to stay humble, stay honest, and stay dependent on God. We do those things, and we will end up with a promise that God gives us in that eternity. So it's up to you. You can choose the pit of fire, you can choose eternity. And today is the day to do it. God bless, and I'll see you next time.